I'm not a scientist. Especially now, when people are talking about actual microchips being injected into your arm to see if you have COVID-19. I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them.
Ivermectin alone.
What's going on, you guys? Today we have Joe Rogan getting slammed by the Humanist Report, Mike Figueredo. Joe Rogan is playing dumb, and the Humanist Report is not having it. Let's watch.
Haven't heard yet, Spotify lost $4 billion in market value. Yes, that's billion with a B, following the announcement of artists like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell stating that they want to pull their songs from the platform because they don't want to share the same platform with someone like Joe Rogan, who's spreading deadly anti-vaccine misinformation during a pandemic. And Spotify, up until this point, hasn't really responded, but because the medical misinformation is now hurting their business model, they were forced to make an announcement that they will indeed be trying to combat the spread of misinformation on their platform by, quote, adding a content advisory to any podcast episode that includes a discussion about COVID-19. Now, this isn't going to make a difference at all, but they're panicking and they're trying to stop the hemorrhaging, so they're announcing this. And it's shocking to me that they didn't already have this, because even on Facebook, I think, on Twitter, on YouTube, any video about COVID-19, you will see a little disclaimer. For more details about COVID-19 or vaccines, visit cdc.gov, yada, yada, yada. So it's shocking that they didn't even do that, which is not even the bare minimum. It's the most basic thing that you can do if you want to be responsible, given that these podcasts feature commentary about this topic from people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But still, you know, it's something that they're trying to do to stop the hemorrhaging. Now, Joe Rogan responded by being incredibly disingenuous and essentially playing dumb and lying, but he did at least show a modicum of humility in this particular clip, which we'll look at first.
One of the things that Spotify wants to do that I agree with is that at the beginning of these controversial podcasts, like specifically ones about COVID, is to put a disclaimer and say that you should speak with your physician and that these people and the opinions that they express are contrary to the opinions of the consensus of experts, which I think is very important. Sure, have that on there. I'm very happy with that. Also, I think if there's anything that I've done that I could do better is have more experts with differing opinions right after I have the controversial ones. I would most certainly be open to doing that.
Yeah, no fucking shit. Or better yet, what if you just didn't platform cranks at all on your platform? Because when you do that, even if you're bringing on people subsequently thereafter to kind of counterbalance the misinformation that you help disseminate, you're still setting up the situation where objectable truth is debatable, when that's just bad.
And I don't necessarily, discredit Joe Rogan. I think that Joe Rogan is a complete nut for sure. I think especially pushing something that is, it was a sickness. Whether you want to say, oh, it was created, this and that, whatever, people were dying from it, and that was actually happening. I don't know if anyone knows people, but I mean, there were definitely people that passed away. I know a few people that passed away from, the disease, from the pandemic. But what I'm saying, why I don't discredit him, is that, I mean, he just doesn't trust the government. And it's like, at the end of the day, that's what I feel that whole pandemic crap was for a lot of the Republicans, for a lot of the people in wherever they were at, that just were like wanting to speak up against it. They were wanting to fight for that little like feeling of not wanting to trust the government. And look, I mean, I would love to be able to say, oh, I think that the government's in good hands. I think the government, is taking care of everyone. But I mean, just point blank, they're allowing Trump to do all these terrible things, to get rid of Medicare, to get rid of food stamps, not to mention all the, the war that we're about to get into. The grocery prices aren't going down. I mean, there's a good reason, I think, why people don't trust the government, and I can't really discredit them for that.
Being neutral for neutrality's sake doesn't actually help propagate the spread of the truth over misinformation. It just makes these non-debatable issues seem debatable. It's the same criticism that I have with regard to mainstream media and climate change. They'll bring on a climate change denier like Marshall Blackburn and Bill Nye, and we'll get both sides, sure, but this makes it seem as if both sides are equal with respect to climate change when it's not equal. Both sides are not equal, and this bias towards neutrality implies that climate change is a debatable issue. When it's not a debatable issue, what we want is the objective truth, not to hear both sides when one side is completely batshit fucking insane and the other side is actual scientists who have studied this throughout the course of their entire lives. So that's not really going to help, but I guess it's better than nothing. But here's where he gets really disingenuous. This is what Joe Rogan said, courtesy of Sam Bifford from The Verge. These podcasts are very strange because they're just conversations, Rogan says. And oftentimes, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about until I sit down and talk to people. Bullshit. And that's why some of my ideas are not that prepared or fleshed out, because I'm literally having them in real time. But I do my best, and they're just conversations. Oh, sure. And I think that's also the appeal of the show. It's one of the things that makes it interesting. So I want to thank Spotify for being so supportive during this time. And I'm very sorry that this is happening to them and that they're taking so much from it. Oh, well, gee golly, I'm just so surprised that this anti-vax loon who I invited on my program, who's currently trying to hawk his anti-vax book, would bring up anti-vax misinformation throughout the course of this 2-hour-plus long conversation. I'm just so shocked. In fact, this is how shocked I was. This is me, surprised Pikachu face, when this anti-vax grifter who I brought on my show starts talking about vaccines in a negative light. Except Joe Rogan is in his 50s. There's no way he's this naive. I refuse to believe it. He might not necessarily be the brightest bulb, but there's no way he's that naive. I mean, you know what you're doing. And if you don't, then I don't know what to say. You're even dumber than I thought. But I think he knows what he's doing. If you bring on someone who is known for their anti-vax grift, then don't be surprised when they talk about anti-vaccine bullshit.
Yeah, I think that's insane. I mean, that half-assed apology of saying, look, I'm sorry that this is happening to them. Like, that doesn't mean anything whatsoever. He's still going to, like what the Humanist Report is saying, he's still going to have these people on that are going to deny that this is even a deadly illness, that it doesn't really affect people, that it doesn't make sense whatsoever.
It's like when he brings on somebody who is a far-right grifter, like Jordan Peterson. Oh, what? But they're talking about anti-trans issues when that's the reason why they're famous, because of Bill C-16? Color me surprised. I never would have expected this from them. It's just, he's so disingenuous here. And anyone who believes him, you have to be as naive, if not more naive than him. Now, as you're going to see, he plays dumb a lot more. And this is a little bit of a compilation put together by The Recount where they show how what he's saying is just, it's lies. He's so deceitful here.
The podcast has been accused of spreading dangerous misinformation.
If you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no.
I do not know if they're right. I don't know because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist.
Especially now when people are talking about actual microchips being injected into your arm to see if you have COVID-19.
I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them.
Ivermectin alone, if properly utilized, is capable of driving this pathogen to extinction.
But I try to correct them.
So if you're in a high-risk area, you take it and it'll protect you.
Again, I'm not trying to promote misinformation.
And they're trying to say the children need it when they don't. They don't need it.
So if I pissed you off, I'm sorry.
He's so sorry. He never meant to spread misinformation. He only has the largest podcast on the planet, so it's not like he has this responsibility or anything to vet guests before bringing them on, or maybe be a little bit careful with the way that he speaks about things that he knows he's been criticized for. He's sorry. He's sorry. It's such fucking bullshit. Now, look, to be clear, I am not advocating that we deplatform Joe Rogan. That's not what I'm saying here. But at a minimum, I think that it is absolutely valid that we criticize Joe Rogan and push back against the misinformation that he's spreading. And more importantly, I do think it is important to exert pressure on platforms like Spotify, who go out of their way to promote voices like Joe Rogan. As Brian Tyler Cohen put it, Spotify isn't just hosting Joe Rogan. They signed a $100 million contract with him to host his content exclusively on their platform. This isn't about censorship. It's about the misinformation that Spotify is financially sponsoring.
Not to mention the huge right-wing turn that Joe Rogan has done since he signed with Spotify. I mean, I don't know whether that could be some type of, whether you want to call it like just a coincidence or what that actual issue is, but it does seem like he is completely, if not, before that, but now it really does mark just a full 180 turn in the other direction.
And this is absolutely correct. Spotify has thousands of podcasts, probably with millions of listeners, but the one that they promote is Joe Rogan. Why? Because that's a business decision. They didn't just give Joe Rogan a $100 million contract out of the kindness of their hearts. They believed that the return on that would be double, if not exponential. But in doing that, in overlooking the transphobia before they agreed to this contract, and overlooking his other absurd beliefs, the guests that he'd bring on, far-right individuals, they thought, oh, well, the controversy was worth it because the viewers that he'd bring in, the new subscriptions that he'd bring into Spotify, that overall would be better. And now it's hurting them, which is why they're starting to reverse course. This is all about business.
So there we have it, you guys. We have the Humanist Report, Mike Figueredo going in on Joe Rogan. I mean, again, just Joe Rogan wanted to play stupid. That apology was terrible. I'm so sorry that this is happening to them. You know, whenever it's like it's literally he's the one that's spreading the misinformation. It doesn't make any sense. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's another day in the progressive way.